Podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Mr. Mike Ainsley.
He's Jake. And we are so glad to have you with us tonight as the Paranatural Podcast takes a virtual road trip and we talk about some real strange pathways for vehicles and such. And we talk about haunted roads. Jacob, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
You're doing fine. I'm doing wonderfully because Derek's here.
Hello.
Hi, Derek. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, just peachy, Ben. Yourself?
I'm doing fan-fucking-tastic.
I'm really excited to hear about some roads.
Yeah, and the listener story that inspired it, I'm going to tell you guys, it's pretty goddamn good. Pretty goddamn good, so.
I'm just surprised that you guys have listeners that, send in stories.
You could have just stopped before you said send in stories. I'm just surprised we have listeners.
Because that would put me in a very small margin of people.
Just think
It
of
already does.
Think of yourselves as special. You're elite. Only certain people can be elite.
I like that a lot
Elite.
better.
Fucking elite. But all right, boys. Since we've dick fucked around long enough, let's start talking about some creepy, spooky road things, huh?
Yes.
So, the first road that I have for y'all is called Jeremy Swamp Road, which is in Connecticut. And this comes from an article in a place that I did not note, but it is written by Aaron Egnatz, which unfortunate fucking name. And it came out on December 7th in 2021.
It's a good year.
According to Miss Egnatz, the legend of Jeremy Swamp Road, located in Southbury, Connecticut, is as creepy as it is intriguing. Aaron, I think, will be the judge of that. Said to be one of the most haunted roads in all of the United States, this road has earned its place as one of my favorite scary stories. So what exactly is the legend surrounding the supposedly haunted Jeremy Swamp Road? Stories dating back decades speak of shadow figures lurking off to the sides of the road, watching and waiting for the living to arrive. Some people have claimed to have been chased by figures not quite human-looking, meaning they are humanoid, but not quite human-looking. These figures, sometimes cloaked in shadows, other times accompanied by mist, have given many people that awful feeling of dread. Many who have encountered the paranormal can understand. Who feels dread? Nobody? All right.
What is that an emotion?
I think.
That's when you drink a lot and you lay down, but then you realize you really have to pee.
I thought it was that movie with Sylvester Stallone. Anyway.
I thought it was when you eat Chinese food and you realize you're 20 minutes from home and you got the gurgles.
That's not dread. That's guaranteed. The article continues. One of the most terrifying things about the stories of Jeremy Swamp Road revolves around the reports of drivers vanishing. Just fucking going missing, y'all. Supposedly, there have been multiple reports of cars breaking down and in need of a tow. When the tow truck driver arrives on the scene, the car is there, but the occupants are nowhere to be found. Ghosts can't drive, I guess. I don't know if the legends are real. Hopefully not. But what I do know is that many go out to the road looking for paranormal activity and have caught various EVP, pictures of orbs, mists, and shadow figures. So something is going on out there. I just don't know what. Well, neither do I, Aaron. But it sounds like a cool place to visit.
I have a question.
Okay.
So when they're getting these calls, when you're talking about missing drivers, like the tow truck shows up, the vehicle's there, but the occupants aren't. I'd be curious as to if there are any missing persons reports filed in this particular area.
I can't say for sure one way or the other, but my gut instinct tells me no, probably fucking not. Those people probably just called a friend and got a fucking ride because Earl, the tow truck driver, was like, yeah, I'm real busy right now. I'm going to be out there about 3 hours.
Have you driven a tow truck in the past?
I don't even know if that's how people from Connecticut talk, but
That's not how they would talk specifically, I would say.
but
But
Earl, the tow truck driver, does.
it sounds a lot like you've driven a tow truck because I feel like we've had a conversation while I was on fucking 95.
I have never driven a tow truck, but I have called quite a few, and that's what I always get from them.
Do they ever mention French fried potatoes?
French fried potatoes. Mm-hmm. Got a
Well,
gas.
hey, just a boy. Poor little feller.
Ain't got no gas in it. All right, thanks, Earl. The next road on our list is a road called Spook. Oh, it's not. This part's not a road. This is a whole goddamn area. Spooky Stevens Point area. I'm pretty sure the spooky part is not in the official name. This is by Cassidy, who apparently did not want her last name associated with whatever this is. And it was written on October 27th in the year 2023.
It means she's full of shit.
Possibly. I don't know. I didn't read it because Paranatural podcast. That's how I roll. Love all things scary and spooky? With Halloween just around the corner? No. Here are a few of the myths and legends from the Stevens Point area. Beware, these stories are not for the faint of heart. Yeah, whatever. Big promises, lady.
Ah, my heart.
The first on the list is Club Forest Bar in Plover. Again, I don't read any of this, or I probably would have put this on the list of haunted roads, but we're going here anyway. Every good road trip needs a stop at the local tavern. The Club Forest Bar in Plover has a long and strange history. According to previous owners, the bar has a colorful past. Rumored to have been a brothel and to be visited by the likes of Al Capone and John Dillinger. Although the bar's brothel and gangster days are long over, unfortunately, they believe the building is haunted by a spirit from this era. They claim the bar is visited by a former caretaker named Melvin.
Oh, that's a scary name.
We are batting 1,000 on the names today.
Melvin Dew?
Sadly, Melvin was shot defending a woman from an unruly customer.
Shouldn't have done that, you boy.
And that he may still be looking for the woman. He's not a very good looker. Incidents like jukeboxes turning on and off, television volumes being turned all the way up, and bar stools flying across the room are most common when there is a man with a loud or forceful voice on the premises.
Derek, don't go there.
For sure.
Despite the spooky occurrences, they say Melvin is welcomed and is even mentioned on their menu.
So you can order up a hot dish of Melvin?
I guess. I'm going to need me one of them there Melvins.
Can I get Melvin stew? That sure sounds good.
Now I really want to know what's on a Melvin.
French fried for Melvins.
It's just a bowl of French fried potatoes.
Can I get some of that cream of Melvin? Oh. Silence, perfect.
It's a bar, so a Melvin is probably a shot.
Or he's fried.
Well, drink Melvin would be like what? It'd be like a slippery nipple or something, or a blowjob shot, right?
Sure,
Sex
defend
on
the
the
lady.
beach, I'm
Sure.
thinking.
Apparently, he didn't get any though, because he's still looking for her. All right.
It's a restraining order that goes past life and death.
So the next thing on our list that I wouldn't have put here had I actually read anything is titled Haunted Bridges. I'm doing real good today. Perhaps the most haunted places in the Stevens Point area are the haunted bridges. Red Bridge on Casimir Road, Black Bridge, and Bloody Bridge. Fuck me.
I might, but you can't talk.
Bloody Bride Bridge. Jesus Christ.
Bloody Bride Bridge.
So we got red, black, and bloody bride.
And Bloody Bride. That's not a color. I've never seen that one in the Crayola box. Probably a good thing, because I wouldn't have been able to fucking tell you which Koran I wanted. Anyway, those apparently exist on Highway 66 near Jordan Park.
Of course.
That I did read enough to know this is not the first time that Highway 66 is mentioned in this episode. According to local legend, a bride, not a bridge, was killed on her wedding night at this location, thus giving it its name. The first encounter, the Bloody Bridge. The first encounter of the ghostly woman was by a police officer who thought that he had hit the woman, got out of his car to investigate, and found nothing. So he thought. As he re-entered his police vehicle, he locked eyes with the woman in his back seat. Since this encounter, the bride is said to haunt all 3 bridges. Why?
She busy.
She's greedy is what she is. Leave some bridges for some other ghost lady. She does this especially late at night and during the winter months because ghosts are immune to the cold. Since all 3 bridges are popular for fishing, fishermen on the waters late at night often have experiences with the bride, and many local residents have their own stories about the location. Passing through this location during the day will be encounter-free, but beware of visiting at nighttime when she is on the prowl. Did anybody catch why we should be aware of her on the prowl? Does she do anything? I didn't.
She gets in your back seat. Unless you don't pay, then she gets out and scolds you just as good as any prostitute will.
Her pimp comes and yells at you. Anyway,
so the worst thing that can happen with this ghost is you hit her with your car.
Worst thing that happens with this ghost is you get married. Anyway.
Ooh.
Speaking of prostitutes, the next one is Boy Scout Lane. Now we're getting canceled. The story of Boy Scout Lane is known by most locals, but its trustworthiness is questionable. All of this shit is questionable. Legend states that a group of Boy Scouts disappeared on the site many years ago. It is debated whether the boys were murdered by their bus driver, slowly disappeared one by one, or accidentally started a forest fire from a lantern they were carrying and perished.
Or joined Catholicism.
All I can see is Chris Farley from fucking Billy Madison. Get on the damn bus! Yeah, sorry.
Despite the myths, there has never been a reported disappearance of the boys. The location actually gets its name because at one point the Boy Scouts of America purchased the land in hopes of it becoming a Boy Scout camp. This never happened, but the name stuck. Today, people often report seeing lights like lanterns bobbing through the forest and then disappearing.
That's terrifying.
Their car having children's handprints on it after driving in the area. And some even report seeing a bus in the area that eventually disappears. Probably drives the fuck off. Do not go to Boy Scout Lane to investigate this for yourselves. You don't tell me what to do, whoever you are that wrote this fucking article, and I can't remember your name. The property that the lane is on is privately owned, and the homeowners near the property have full rights to contact the police on unsolicited visitors. In this case, rely on the urban legends to scare you. Enough. There's a simple solution to that, y'all. Fucking ask. You stop and you ask. You be polite. You ask. Most people are cool
on this property.
Yeah. Most people kind of cool. So this one does get us back on track a little bit for road type stuff, but it's still not a road. This article is entitled, Is the Tri-County Truck Stop Haunted? Pretty sure most truck stops are haunted. And this one was published on April 2nd, 2014, specifically at 2:57 p.m. Because everybody's reading articles about haunted truck stops at 2:57 p.m. There was a video which they talk about here in the beginning. Let me skip that. Okay, here we are. Back in the 1970s, it was a 2-story live music club with a balcony. One night, it was crowded beyond fire code tolerances. The balcony collapsed, and several people died. The building was renovated with a smaller, sturdier balcony overlooking the dance floor. In the course of the renovation, they relocated the inside stairs to the other end of the bar. The men's rooms and ladies' rooms were remodeled and reversed. Former ladies' room is now the men's and vice versa. And there's probably one for they, thems, and what have you. Many people who have worked there over the years have seen spirits dressed in 1970s clothes. One night, about 15 years ago, when I was tending bar at a live music club down the road from the Haunted Club, a young bartender from the Haunted Club came in to watch a band where I worked. We started talking while the band was sound checking, and he said he'd recently started work at the Haunted Club and was scared to go back to work the upcoming weekend. When I asked why, he said that he had seen a ghost, and this is pretty much what he said. I was behind the bar setting up. The doors were locked, and it was just me and one other bartender setting up before opening time. A guy in 1970s clothing walked up to the bar and asked for a Harvey Wallbanger, whatever the fuck that is. I laughed and said, hey, great outfit, but 70s night isn't till Thursday. Then I told him we weren't open yet and asked him how he got in, because the doors were locked. He just turned around, walked partway across the bar, and walked up into the air like he was on a staircase. And he walked straight into the ceiling and disappeared. As soon as he walked away from the bar, it was like old-time disco lights were on him. You know, like those glitter balls and colored lights and stuff, like Saturday Night Fever. So, the heaven scene from Grease. That's what I'm picturing in my head. The young man seemed really shaken just recollecting this. I asked him if he had heard the bar was haunted, and he said that some people had told him strange things happened there, but nothing in particular. And he had only been there a short while. I asked him precisely where the 70s spirit had walked up the invisible stairs. He described the location. It was where the old stairs used to be. That was all in caps. I asked him if anybody had told him the building had been renovated. He said no. I told him the ghost had walked up where the old, again all in caps, stairs used to be. The man was visibly shaken. I'm an old hippie, and I remember the old bar before the balcony collapsed. This young man would have been a toddler when the tragedy occurred. He is also from another state and came to our city to attend a local university. A whole generation had passed since the balcony collapsed. No one, including the owner, one of many over the years, two of whom met tragic ends. One committed suicide, can't say that on YouTube, in the building in the 90s. Although the place is known to be haunted, no one who owned or worked at the building at the time I spoke to this young man was old enough to remember where the old stairway was. And the new club was aimed at the young techno dance crowd. So I doubt any old-timers would have told him about the renovation to give him any background to make up that sort of story. Also of interest, men using the men's room, it used to be the ladies, remember, report seeing feet inside the bathroom stall wearing ladies' shoes of 70s styles.
Oh.
What I'm talking about.
They catch a glimpse of the feet, and then they disappear. Usually, it is feet wearing white platform heels. I seriously doubt that any of these young witnesses were provided with renovation information. People still see 70s ghosts there.
Yeah, I have questions on this one, too.
All right.
Okay, number one. Yeah. What's this fire code have to do with the structural integrity of anything? Like, I don't want to say that I'm a structural engineer or anything, but I mean, I work in construction. I don't think fire code really has anything to do with the fucking load of a building. That's question number one. Any answers?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm listening.
So the fire code, it's how many can be in there with the possibility of safely getting out with a fire of some sorts going on.
But that is an area of the inside and like
That would be
number
like
and
the
location of
capacity the
egress.
building, quote unquote. That'd be like
Yeah, it's capacity.
okay. But there's an upstairs to it, right? It doesn't matter. Typically, everything that's engineered and designed is the live load that it can take is like 10 times what it's supposed to be able to attain.
Not in the 70s.
Fuck bullshit. But anywho,
Maybe
the
it
other
was just a real shitty fucking balcony.
Cut corners.
yeah, typically never mind. I wasn't around in the 70s. I didn't build shit in the 70s, so I don't know too much about that. Next thing, the Harvey Wallbanger. It's basically just a screwdriver.
Oh, okay.
So fun fact.
It's way more fun to say than screwdriver, though.
Give me an old Harvey Wallbanger there, Chief.
Hey there, Sonny. I need a Harvey Wallbanger.
Can I get a Harvey Wallbanger? Jake, do it with the whistle.
I'm gonna wallbang your Harvey.
Oh boy, you stop talking dirty to me.
You can keep talking dirty to me. It's okay.
I'm just gonna apologize to our audience right now. I'm not sure exactly for what, but I feel like I need to. Anywho,
Oh,
That face.
that'll do her. Our next little bit of a whatever this is going to wind up being here comes from the Harrison County Lifestyle, which I'm sure is a massive publication. Marshall's Stagecoach Road haunts drivers with legends and history. By Bridget Ortego. At least we got a halfway decent name for this one. Drivers looking for a spooky Sunday drive this month in celebration of the upcoming All Hallows Eve should set their sights on Marshall's old Stagecoach Road. Not Marshall's new Stagecoach Road. Go to the old one. Nestled amidst the pine curtain in northeast Marshall, and this isn't Texas, by the way, the old red dirt road is lined with tall oak trees whose branches reach out and touch each other, blocking out all sunlight from above and creating a creepy atmosphere rife for the legends and hauntings. I have seen oak trees that grow close together. They do not block all the sunlight. Stop that.
I didn't realize Texas had trees.
They got like 3, and apparently they're all on this Marshall Road. East Texas has a lot of fucking trees and shit, but anyway. The historical dirt road served as the main thoroughfare for stagecoaches traveling between Shreveport and Marshall in the early to mid-1800s, before the Civil War. After the war, travel on the road declined due to the expanse of the railroad. Everybody always said it's spooky out there, Harrison County Historical Commissioner Chairman Tom Spear said Thursday. I don't know what Thursday. I don't know when this article was written. There you go. And then, for whatever reason that had me very confused when I was copying and pasting all of this over, the article continues with these words. A holloway is an Old English word referring to a roadbed that is sunken into the ground with high walls along it. Who the fuck said holloway? That word does not appear anywhere previously in this fucking article.
That's actually who sings What is Love?
Who wrote this shit?
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
Thank you for allowing me to rant. We'll move on now.
No more.
In Old England, the wheels of the stagecoaches traveling in the dirt roads would cause the roads to wash out, and a rain would come and wash away the soil, not something you have to worry about in Texas. This eventually narrowed the roadway and made it a hollow way, which is what we have out on Stagecoach Road. The road is a registered historical site, though its historical marker is not currently up. In some areas, iron-rimmed wheels and horses' hooves trampled the narrowed roadbed as much as 12 feet below the surrounding terrain. That's actually impressive. The marker reads, travel over the dirt road was uncomfortable in dry weather and often impossible in rainy seasons. So it was impossible those 3 days of the year. Now the road is maintained by the county, which recently did repairs to part of the road. They came up with a method everybody agreed would help repair the road and not damage its historical look, Spear said. The dirt road is still easily traveled today and draws ghost hunters and curious visitors several times a month. We were actually in town staying at the Best Western in February of 2013, so this article was written some time ago, hoping to check out the old insane asylum there. Sunshine Paranormal founder Clay Henderson said Friday. Sunshine is spelled really weird. It's Sonshine. Just so you know, I know how to read the word sunshine. That's not it. We talked to the man at the front counter of the hotel, and he asked if we had ever been out to Stagecoach Road. We had never heard of it. He said about 1 or 2 ghost hunters a year went out to see it and investigate. Fellas, we got to go there. Nobody's out there. It'll be great.
Let's go.
I thought the legends were likely teenage hysteria or boyfriends taking their girlfriends out there trying to scare them. Because if you want to get laid, get her scared, boys. We went out there to debunk the legends and the stories. Instead, we found some pretty great evidence supporting them. After hearing stories of the goat man who haunts the road and sightings of little ghost children, the couple took off at night time to see what they could find. We stopped the car at one point because we had an EMF, electromagnetic field, detector on it, and it spiked. He said, I got out and started randomly taking pictures, and in one of them, a girl in a white dress, about 5 feet tall, was standing about 20 feet away from the back of our car. The Hendersons also snapped a photo of what may be a ghostly figure, which Clay believes is a mother and her 2 children. That's La Llorona. Get the fuck out of there, bud. There's the story of a mother who lived out there and drowned her 2 kids. Yep, there you go, La Llorona. Her 2 kids in the marsh, planning to commit, end herself aside. Afterwards, except she couldn't bring herself to follow through after she killed her children. So the townspeople unalived her when they found out what she had done.
Unalive.
She is still out there on Stagecoach Road looking for her children. Or so the story goes.
Yeah, that's definitely La Llorona.
It is. It's just a La Llorona variant.
Yeah.
He said he believes the ghostly photo of the woman and 2 children is the one from the story. With those old oak trees out there casting so much shade and those steep walls, it can get very spooky very quick, Spear admitted. The Hendersons also experienced battery drains on some of their electronic equipment while on the road, which ghost hunters claim can be a sign of entity drawing power to show its presence. The couple also had the word felt come through a voice box that they had running during their investigation. Dude, I get way better shit if I just sit my voice box on my desk and let it run. While the road grows in popularity, especially around Halloween, the County Historical Commission is currently planning to reinstall the road's historical marker. The marker has been stolen several times over the years, and it was found in 1997 on a routine traffic stop in Colorado. A local constable here named Robert Wood paid out of his own pocket to have it shipped back to Marshall. Apparently, their town council is cheap. A local Eagle Scout named Ty Weekly refurbished it, and now Judge Hugh Taylor has it, and it's waiting to go back up out there. It's going to be mounted on a granite block, so it can't be stolen again, and placed at the Pine Bluff Church. Challenge accepted. The road has also been recently repaired by the county. This is 2013. It might be shit now. I don't know. They did some repair work out there in the past 30 days, I believe, Spear said. Taylor did not return phone calls inquiring when the marker would be going back up. If it's anything like the road construction in Michigan, it's still not up. Spear said he believes the marker is a target for thieves due to the road's popularity. The road is popular because of the stories and legends, and that makes the marker popular, Spear said. Henderson agreed, saying that ghost hunting groups have more than quadrupled to the road in recent years. So now there's like 9 people go out there. We went down there to prove the story's wrong, and in the end, we couldn't do that, Henderson said. There you go. That's Stagecoach Road in Marshall, Texas.
Sounds fun.
Sure does. Our next one is titled
Rip off.
Ortega Ridge Road is haunted by 3, count them, 1, 2, 3, ghostly nuns. This may be the first time I have actually encountered ghostly nuns outside of whatever the fuck that dumb movie is.
The Nun.
Is that what it's called?
I don't fucking know.
The Nun and The Conjuring 2.
This guy don't watch movies. Located on the central coast of California in the USA, Ortega Ridge Road is the name of a road supposedly haunted by the spirits of 3 nuns.
Nuns are scarier when they're alive.
Yeah, they got rulers and they'll smack you.
And then beat you with fish.
Tucked away in Santa Barbara County between Santa Ynez Mountains and the Pacific Ocean, the road is totally paved.
Is this Texas again?
No, this is California. Legend says 3 nuns, known as Las Tres Hermanas, were robbed, tortured, and murdered by bandits on the road over 100 years ago.
Is it 3 nuns in a trench coat?
This occurred during California's gold rush. Travelers frequently report seeing the 3 nuns standing on the side of the road, arms crossed. They're giving you the disapproving stare, and that is fucking horrible. Worst story we've had so far. The road is 2.09 kilometers, or
This is America.
1.3 miles in freedom fucking units, long, running south to north from Ortega Hill Road to CA 192, which is just a phenomenal name for a road. Way to go on the creativity, guys. Some drivers say the 3 nuns with white faces, that's racist, with eerily glowing bluish eyes can be spotted walking along the street, dressed in nuns' clothing. No shit, Sherlock. And holding their hands in prayer. I thought they had their arms crossed. Didn't he just say they had their arms crossed? This guy's an idiot. As you drive down this road, watch out for ghostly nuns. Yes, thank you, we get it. For over a century, 3 nuns reportedly stand arms crossed. There he is again. Dressed in black and white habits, dressed like fucking nuns. Why is this guy repeating himself?
Boo.
Now called Las Tres Hermanas, these 3 sisters were supposedly tortured and killed by Native Americans and have haunted the road ever since.
They keep changing the story.
I know, right?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Is this about 3 nuns?
Yeah, and I think they stand with their arms crossed and pray at the same time.
And
You
they
figure
were
that one out.
killed by bandit Native
By
Americans.
bandits and, well, I guess Native Americans could have been bandits or vice versa.
Native American bandits.
Either way, we're this far, we're finishing. The 3 sisters are perhaps from the Santa Barbara mission, and despite being warned not to leave Santa Barbara, did so anyway with supplies, medicine, and candles for those who needed it. But before they could reach the first Native American village, they were set upon, tortured, and murdered. It is said that the sisters, before they lost consciousness, even forgave their killers. I'm sure.
How many bleeping times is this guy going to repeat himself?
47.
Ronan 47?
I have no idea. We're almost done with this one. Their ghosts are usually seen at night with bright blue
With
eyes.
white faces.
White faces.
White faces.
No. With bright blue eyes and shining, glowing faces.
Ooh.
And nuns' habits?
And nuns' habits. They turn to watch cars passing by. It is
That's
rare to see
terrifying.
them during the day, although visitors have supposedly felt the nuns' emotional imprint.
A shame. You feel shame.
Oh, boy.
That was a rough one.
Sure was. All right,
I
fellas.
feel like that could have been wrapped up in like 2 minutes too.
It really could have. If he would have just said his
If he
thing
didn't write the
once.
same goddamn sentence 3 fucking times, sure.
It was a word count. He was just getting a word count out.
Editor's like, we need 6,000 words. He's like, I'm on it, chief. Can they be 6,000 of the same fucking word?
Said, yeah, as long as you frame them differently in each paragraph.
He didn't even do that.
Oh, and throw some mystery in there. I got it. Their arms are crossed, yet they're in the form of praying.
Somebody should have got that guy goddamn thesaurus.
How does one do that?
Get a thesaurus? You go online.
I think this is how you do it right here.
I could not have done that nearly so quickly or smoothly. All right. For those of you who have stuck around this long, I mean you, just you right there. You're probably the only one. This is our listener's story, and it was sent to us by Alec Panstamon Brooks. So, Alec,
Hey, I know that name.
thank you very much for sending us this story. And it is titled, quite cleverly, if I might add, not by me, Let Me Go Home, Country Roads.
Ah, I get it. That is clever.
You don't even know. Wait till you hear the story. You'll find out how clever it truly is. This particular event happened not too long ago, at the end of May 2022. My husband and I were traveling back with our old roommate, her cat, and as much of her belongings as we could pack into her little car. It was the last portion of the trip from Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, to Lexington, Kentucky. Apparently, I'm having multiple strokes today.
They grow back. You're fine.
To move her into the apartment with us. We had made a bit of a weekend out of it because I was eager to see my family back in Virginia, and my sister, her fiancé, and my niece had been helping us with the move. I surprised my mother, other sister, and nephew, who I hadn't seen in over a year. We stayed the night in Virginia and planned to head out early the next morning to gather the roommate's cat and more of her belongings from her mom's house in West Virginia. Of course, we got a late start, and there were tearful bye for nows all around before we set out to get more of the roommate's things. Upon arriving at Berkeley Springs, we realized there were a lot more things than we could fit and had to play some Tetris and figure out what absolutely had to come now and what could be retrieved later. When we finally set out towards home, it was much later than we had planned. And knowing the drive was about 6 to 7 hours, we knew we would end up making most of the trip in the dark. Our roommate was driving, and I offered to assist when needed. She ended up doing the entire trip herself. I can't quite recall the exact time, though I know it was rather late at night, but the weather started to turn against us at one point. There was barely any warning before it started to downpour heavily, and fog started to creep onto the interstate. We already needed to stop for gas, and a good stretch soon anyway. And when visibility got too low to see more than a few feet in front of the car, we decided to pull off at the next exit. Spoiler alert, it was a bad idea. If it was a good idea, we probably wouldn't be reading this on the show. We pulled off the next exit we saw that had signs for a gas station and fast food places, taking a right off the interstate. Halfway through the exit ramp, the radio shut off. This wouldn't be so alarming if it was the actual radio playing and not hooked up to our roommate's phone that had full bars and a nearly full battery. I convinced myself that it was just the area we were in, and maybe her phone hadn't picked up the spotty service just yet. Even though when I checked her phone, it had full bars, and so did mine, and my husband's. We followed signs for a gas station, taking a right at the end of the ramp. Now, in my experience, most exit ramps that show signs for gas stations and the like direct drivers to ones that are right off the ramp, if not less than 2 minutes away, to make getting back on the interstate easier and quicker. In this case, we didn't see the gas station right away, but it was still raining heavily, and we figured it would be better to drive a little further and see if we found it, instead of getting back on the interstate immediately. If not, hopefully it would bring us into a little town or something that we could just get back on from there. It started to feel a little more eerie and tense as we drove on. There weren't any buildings or turnoffs that I could see, and the road we were on. Our roommate saw a parking lot to the right of us, completely empty, save for a car that was idling, with no one in it. Julian, my husband, recalls a parking lot as well, but he remembers it being very foggy, with a bright street lamp and a large boulder. I didn't see this parking lot, but it's possible I just wasn't looking at it when we passed. We all remember seeing dense trees on either side of the road, blocking most, if not all, views of anything else. If you've ever driven or ridden on country back roads at night, you understand that uneasy feeling that comes when they aren't familiar, and sometimes even when they are. I started to feel antsy and was desperately looking for a place we could turn around. The music and GPS still hadn't started back up in the car at this point, and that made things so much creepier. Yeah, because the Google voice is so goddamn comforting. Anyway. It wasn't long, maybe 2 to 5 minutes before I noticed a spot to pull off. I pointed it out and said it looked like a carpool lot, like a park and ride, where you would meet up with someone and leave your car so you could ride together to your destination. This is where we all experienced something very different. Julian's retelling is that we turned off the road into a kind of crossroads. If we continued straight, but slightly right, we would cross over a wooden bridge. If we turned left, there was a large brick tunnel that he could see the other end of. He saw fewer trees there, and a driveway to go down to a little ranch house on the right-hand side of that road. The parking lot was skewed more than my roommate and I remembered it, not perfectly perpendicular to the road with the bridge. He remembers that we backed up and had enough space to pull forward and turn back the way we came, towards the main road. Our roommate and I remember that we turned left onto a road, and the parking lot was at a near perfect 90-degree angle on the right. Neither of us remember any other road other than the one we turned on and the one we came off, nor do we recall a brick tunnel. The bridge was straight ahead for us, not slightly right. At first, we thought Julian had been the only one to see what we didn't, but we realized when we drew it out, we all saw something different. Our roommate and I saw the area more similarly, but I saw another road that she didn't, and she saw 2 cars off and parked in the parking lot where I recall only one. All of us agree that it was very dark. There was maybe one dim street light in the lot and 1 or 2 cars parked further away from us. We all saw at least 1 car. The whole lot could fit no more than 15 to 20 cars, if that. Our roommate stopped the car just before the turn into the parking lot when we noticed her GPS had rerouted finally and was telling us to go forward over this small wooden bridge that led deeper into the woods. Our roommate recalls stopping just before the bridge. Julian and I remember stopping with enough space for about 1.5 of her car, a Toyota Yaris, to fit in front of us without a car actually being on the bridge. A Toyota Yaris, like, even 3-4 of them is still right in front of the bridge. Anyway. I remember getting this awful feeling of dread. I said we needed to turn back, and this wasn't a safe place, and it felt like something was luring us into the woods. We agreed to turn around and go back the way we came, without going any closer to the tree line in front of us, if at all possible. Regardless of where it was, we all saw the wooden bridge. We all felt pure, unadulterated fear looking at it at the same time. Julian describes it as his blood running cold. I remember feeling my stomach flip and the hair on my arms and legs stand up like a full-body chill. Our roommate said she felt a deep dread and a heavy, depressing feeling. All of us experienced this same we need to leave right the hell now moment. From what Julian and I witnessed, we backed up just a little to avoid getting any closer to the bridge, turned right into the car lot, and made a U-shaped turn. We turned left to go back up to the main road. Now, here's where it gets really freaky and interesting It's already been a little freaky and interesting, sweetheart. You don't gotta. Anyway. Julian saw a blue sedan, market boys, slow on the main road, with a middle-aged blonde woman driving. She had medium-length hair and was looking down the road ahead of her, likely checking to make sure no cars were flying around the sharp curve in the road. He remembered seeing what looked like house lights down the road. She didn't turn down the road towards the bridge or the parking lot, and there was more than enough room for us to easily get back on the road, which is why he was so confused when our roommate stopped the car again and didn't move for a minute. The car I saw was a dark silver gray, almost black SUV. It came onto the road where we had pulled onto and stopped at an angle in front of us with the headlights pointed towards the middle back of the parking lot and the taillights lighting up a guardrail on the right side of the entrance road. The car wasn't stopped, but it was slowly moving as if to see if we were going to just go through or wait for them to pass. A chill went through me as soon as I saw the car, and I opened my mouth to say something, but I don't think anything came out. What I saw was one of the most terrifying things I've seen, and I've seen a lot of freaky shit. To be honest, it's still terrifying to talk about. It appeared to have the body and build of a middle-aged woman. You're right, it's terrifying. With hair cut into a blonde bob about medium... Fuck me as a Karen. About medium length. That's terrifying as fuck. Sorry. The face was dark. It was hard to make out any features, but I could see everything else fairly clearly. I could see that her mouth was slightly open, as if she was getting ready to say something to us, probably to bitch. But she just kept her head turned left at our car and stared straight at us. I started to see more of the facial features and noticed the eyes were black. The mouth was slowly opening more and more, and it started looking less like a human. Hello, Uncanny Valley. So you all probably cannot see this, but Jacob wrote blue sedan on a piece of paper, and he's holding it up so that I do not forget. However, I would like to know, Jacob, why is that backwards? Do you have your video mirrored?
Oh, no,
I think
it's
he probably wrote it backwards just for that, for him, because he thought that it was going to be mirrored. So he wrote it backwards when he didn't realize that all he had to do was write it forwards and just fucking show you.
Yes, we will go with that. And
it shows backwards for me.
Alrighty then. Moving on. Our roommate recalls a lighter colored, possibly white, SUV, turning and coming to more of a rolling stop, just enough left of the entrance for us to be able to squeeze past. She started to pull forward, and when she did, she noticed an older woman with medium-length blonde hair had her head turned, looking straight at us. I'm sure she could make out the details of the face as she was closer, though whatever she saw was too horrifying for her to comfortably tell us, and I decided to just leave it at that and not cause discomfort. That's right, Karens can be fucking scary.
Yeah, she's just sitting there holding up the phone at you like this.
As we move forward, our roommate saw the car speed up after getting past us and disappear as it crossed the bridge. I remember the car pulling into the parking lot and stopping in the center, the parking spaces on either side of it, before it was just gone. We tried to calm ourselves as much as possible, taking deep breaths, and all in silent agreement that we should wait to speak about it until we got further away. When we got onto the entrance ramp for the interstate, the radio came back on, and the rain lightened. The fog was almost completely gone, and the road ahead of us was dry as if it had just started raining, rather than downpour we experienced not 10 minutes previously. This whole detour lasted at max 20 minutes. To this day, we all agree that something strange happened that night at that place, and that someone, or something, wanted us to go over that bridge and into those woods. She gave us a bonus round. That same year, we were all traveling from Kentucky to Virginia for Thanksgiving, and we took the same route. We were hyper aware of what happened when our roommate was moving in, and we had done research after the fact and found out this lovely experience took place around the Flatwoods in Clay, West Virginia. After figuring out the exact exit it was, we planned to avoid pulling off the interstate there, and expected that something would try to guide us to those woods again. Everything was going okay. We got an uneasy feeling as we neared the exit, but nothing seemed to be going out of the ordinary on the interstate or with the car. We knew we'd need to take a break and stretch out again soon, but we were more than willing to wait until after the Clay exit. A semi-truck was speeding, not unusual, but this guy was also swerving slightly, and it felt very unsafe to be near him. When he slowed a bit, we tried passing him, but he almost hit us, so we opted to stay a distance behind him in the right lane. When it started raining, we talked about getting off the interstate and taking a break, letting that guy get some distance before getting back on the road. At this point, we were absolutely sure we had already passed the exit from hell, so we took the next exit we saw. Lo and behold, we were back on the same eerie road. Fuck no. That's a quote. It was daylight now, so less creepy. But we still got the chills. We drove down the road just enough to turn around and get right back on the interstate. We hadn't been off the interstate long enough for that semi to be out of sight, especially given that there weren't any more exits for more than just a couple of miles. We had been off the interstate for less than 2 minutes, but when we got back on, there was no sign of the semi that we had decided to get off the exit to avoid. We looked for it through the rest of West Virginia, but never saw it again. Not even pulled off on the side of the highway or anything. And that, boys, is the story. What do you think?
Creepy. The Karen with the black eyes and the growing mouth. Odd. Very odd.
That part aside, it's still strange.
Yeah.
3 people remembering 3 events that were different enough. Memory is fallible. 3 people do not experience and or remember the exact same thing ever. But these were some very significant differences. And that shit is just creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where exactly did that end up taking place?
So I was just about to cover that because our friend Alec, well, she let me know. So our conversation kind of continued after she said the story, and she said, I'm telling you, I don't like traveling through West Virginia anymore. Based off of a gut feeling and a light skimming of research, I have a feeling it may have been something Native American in nature. Maybe a Wendigo. Okay. Alec, darling. Wendigos live up north, but there are plenty of things that, like, speaking of legend, used to lure travelers into the woods and shit like that. So
Sirens.
there was no music. The music shut off, remember? Sirens would have turned that shit back on, pumped the jams.
Plus, that would have been in water.
Let me see here. She says, also not sure if I mentioned it, but when my husband was trying to figure out more paranormal lore on the area, we found out it's 20 miles away from the very first Mothman sighting and fairly close to the Flatwoods as well. So if you remember the Flatwoods monster story, it's right there in that area. We also discovered that Clay, West Virginia gets a considerable amount more average rainfall per year than the counties that surround it. Maybe not spooky per se, but worth mentioning. My husband also wanted me to add that he woke up just before the rain hit with a weird feeling, and he checked on the cat, and he was fine. As all the creepy shit started to happen, the cat started to freak out, and his hair was puffed up everywhere. I didn't know this because he was in the back seat with the cat, and I was in the front seat, trying not to piss my pants. Alec, we really do appreciate that. That's a great story, and we love hearing from our listeners. So thank you very much for sharing that. All right, boys.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nah.
All right.
And now I'm just trying to Google where this is so I can drive up and down the road looking for it.
It's in West Virginia.
Well, I understand that considering
That
I
thins it down.
fucking Virginia. Well, they said Berkeley Springs at first, and I know where Berkeley Springs is.
That's where they started from and went through there to get to Kentucky. So in that area somewhere.
Yeah, so they would have had to head
20
down.
miles from the first Mothman sighting.
It is
figured it out.
somewhere in Appalachia.
I think it's 3 hours and some change from the house.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for spending your time here with us on the Paranatural Podcast. You know we appreciate you and everything you do. Derek, we also appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Every single time, Benjamin.
Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we love you. Good night.
Good night. I love you.